Thursday, and welcome inside Studio H here in LA. I am Michelle Beadle. Chauncey Billups, a 4-1 guy in Game 7s.
It's decent.
That's something. Jalen Rose played in a legendary Game 7 against Michael Jordan.
Scottie Pippen was there. Dennis Rodman
was there. And whatever you have to say about this man to my right, Paul Pierce played in 10. Did you know that you don't have to play Game 7? You can finish before that? He played in 10 of them, and that's interesting to me. There are Game 7s today in both the East and the West, which is where we begin with the Trailblazers and the Nuggets. Damian Lillard and his thoughts on his first Game 7. That's our Straight Talk Soundbites.
Leave it all out there. You know, I feel like we've paid our dues. We've had some early success in the playoffs. We've had back-to-back years of being swept. You know, we felt what it feels like to be at the bottom and for everybody to talk bad about us. And we answered the call each time, you know, and we find ourselves here right now. And I just feel like having to win a Game 7 on the road to get to the Western Conference Finals, I think this is the last hurdle for us to make. You know, it's like before you get to level up and have that breakthrough, is always one more challenge that you got to fight through, and I feel like this is it.
All right, it's his first Game 7, Chauncey. What do the Trailblazers need to do to win this thing?
Well, you heard what Dame said. We have to leave it all out there, but it's from the neck up. It's not going to be a physical game. As far as you're not going to win it that way. You got to outsmart this team. And we're going to go to the tape. I'm going to show you a couple things that they need to do. Now, Dame, who's the point guard, needs to get the proper pieces in the pick and roll. Now, Gary Harris is guarding him right now, but he wants Jamal Murray to guard him. Does a good job of forcing the switch. And then when that happens, bring Joker into this pick and roll. Why? First of all, I want it way out here. Look how far this pick and roll is out. That's a lot of real estate for you to ask a big guy to try to guard one of the toughest covers in the game, Dame Lillard. So attack those two guys on the defense. But again, you need an X factor. You need a guy that's going to come to play other than CJ and Dame. Now, look how they're guarding Dame and CJ. Face guarding both guys, which means they're going to attack Jamal Murray right here. And Rodney Hood, who's come up big, he's going to need a big performance. Look how easy this play was. They have to send some help. They can't just hide Jamal Murray on either Seth Curry or Rodney Hood. They got to attack that matchup. So if you're Dame Lillard and you're the Trailblazers, you say, okay, here's a couple things that we have to do. And like he said, we have to go take it.
Jalen, who do you think Trailblazers, their biggest advantage is what?
I affectionately call the Portland Trailblazers backcourt mama's boys. And since today's Mother's Day, that's
perfect.
Apropos, having Dame Lillard, because you just talked about it, Mr. Big Shot. Like, I remember on this show just last year, people assassinating his character because they got beat by Rajon Rondo and Drew Holiday. Okay, but the guy that's, as you mentioned, been Rookie of the Year, All-NBA, a pitchman for Hulu, a pitchman for Adidas. This dude got an album, okay? And he shot down Russell and Paul George and waved them bye-bye. He's their biggest advantage when times get tough.
What do you think the best matchup is, most important?
It has to be Damian Lillard, Jamal Murray. I mean, this is a moment that Damian Lillard has to seize. You know, I think we've underrated him throughout his career.
He's not underrated.
No, I mean, I think he's underrated. Even though he was first team All-NBA, going to be first or second team this year.
He's underappreciated.
I think so. Because he hasn't had a deep run in the playoffs.
There it is.
That's why.
This your time of the year, True. He got to do it in the playoffs.
He has to do it. Yeah. Pretty much Jamal Murray has kind of X'd him out. And what I'm saying by he's matched him. Yeah. So I thought this was a series that Lillard would pretty much dominate Jamal. Not to take anything away from him, but he has to totally outplay Jamal today for them to win.
I noticed you had Rodney Hood in the video as an X factor. Are you sticking with him?
Bees, I am sticking with Rodney Hood. He's had some pretty big games. He's averaging, I think, 16 for the series, but he had one night where he had 25. And like I said, they try to hide Jamal Murray, not letting him guard Dame, not letting him guard CJ, so they slide him down to maybe Rodney Hood. He has to take advantage. He's going to be the X factor for the Trailblazers.
We are going to get to the other side of thing, as in the Nuggets, later on in the show. But first, like coaches through LAX, these are the Lakers of our time. Oh, the soap opera continues. Woj first reported that Frank Vogel accepted a 3-year deal to be the Lakers' next head coach, decided to hire former Nets and Bucks head coach Jason Kidd as a prominent assistant. According to Woj, owner Jeannie Buss's decision was heavily influenced by both Lakers advisor Kurt Rambis and their former coach Phil Jackson. It just never ends, Jalen. This series of moves tells you what about this team?
Well, first of all, Frank Vogel is a respected coach in this league, and I know that it's probably not the big name splash hire that franchises like the Los Angeles Lakers and their fans are used to, but he's a really good coach. And Jason Kidd being on his staff does make the squad better. But the optics of this look unusual based on how it was done. It almost looks like, okay, management, we want to hire Frank Vogel, but we want to bring Jason Kidd in to keep LeBron James.
This whole thing stinks, man.
Correct.
Like, there's nothing. This whole thing, I agree with you. Frank is a good coach. He's a good guy. My thing is, if Jason Kidd was the guy that they valued the most out of all the coaches, why not hire
make him the head coach?
Why not hire him? And to me, it's like they're just going to gloss over these next 3 years of LeBron. Just gloss over them and say, okay, you ready, Jason? Take it over. LeBron's gone. Frank, you gone. All right, this is what we wanted the whole time. How do you do that when this guy committed to you these 4 years? I mean, this whole thing stinks.
You know what? Believe it or not, I feel bad for LeBron at this stage of his career to be going through this, you know, in Laker land, because you look at the organization, you look at organizations like Lakers, Celtics, organizations, first-class, first-flight organizations who brought in tons of Hall of Famers, top-flight free agents, and LeBron at this stage of his career going through management issues, coaches issues, when he's trying to add another championship to his resume. Not that he doesn't, that he needs it, but he wants to go out the right way, and this is pitiful the way it is.
So both of you guys have been champions, okay? And you guys know players on the team come and go. Do you guys feel like LeBron had some influence on how this coaching?
Well, that's exactly where I was going. I want to know if LeBron ever stepped up for whoever he wanted, whether it was Jason, T. Lou, whoever. Did he ever step up and have a voice? Because when he committed to them, it's a two-way street. So they're committing to you as well. So I would like to know, because obviously I don't think he did.
I don't think he did, because
things
they
maybe would have been different.
They would have gave T. Lou 5 years.
Correct.
If LeBron stepped in. If that's the guy.
And I disagree. And I disagree if he didn't. I mean, I think that that's wrong.
Well, there it is. The Lakers got it in the show. Jamal Murray always getting in the zone, averaging a little over 24 points a game this postseason. That's how he gets there. I like it. The NBA's seen 133 Game 7s. Michael Wilbon seeing quite a few. Tells us what's made them all so special and what kind of history will be made today. You're watching NBA Countdown.
There's been a lot of talk and all this stuff, and that was the last word.
In the last 20 postseasons, only Allen Iverson has averaged more points per game in potential series-clinching games than Damian Lillard. In the first round of this year's playoffs, Lillard went for 50 in the Blazers' series-clinching win over Oklahoma City. For more, we now welcome in our reporter Royce Young from Denver. Today will be Damian Lillard's first career Game 7, which is actually really difficult to comprehend. What should we expect to see from him?
Yeah, one of the things about it, Jen, is that with this being Lillard's first Game 7, he's talked about how he's not going to build it up to be anything that it's not. He said it's just a basketball game. It's an important one, and he realizes that. And he realizes all the pressure that's going to be on him and his teammates to perform here, because this was a stated goal for specifically Lillard, but the Blazers organization coming into this season. They wanted to get to the Western Conference Finals with all the disappointment that they've had coming into this postseason with 10 straight playoff losses, 2 consecutive sweeps. They really felt like a goal of theirs would be to get to the Western Conference Finals and have who they thought would be against the Golden State Warriors just take their shot there. So this is going to be about Lillard. It's going to be about McCollum. They've never been this close before, and we're going to get to see what Dame time looks like in a Game 7.
We might be seeing Game 7 headlines tomorrow morning. We always talk about Game 7, and obviously it is a critical situation. But how does the experience of playing in one, like, say, the Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets from the first go-round, how will that affect them in this situation?
For a young team, Jen, this is a big deal for them. They played in that Game 7 against the San San Antonio Spurs in this building. It was a hard-fought, close game. The Nuggets built a big lead, let it go late, nearly blew it down the stretch. But there's been a lot of talk about how inexperienced and young the Nuggets are. And for them to be able to lean on that, that's something Michael Malone, their coach, talked about, is that they're going to draw on some of the preparation, some of the experience that they had in that game. But another thing that they're trying to prepare themselves for is the emotions of a game like this. There was a little chippiness in Game 6 with Will Barton and Seth Curry getting into it. Will Barton put his finger in Seth Curry's eye. Seth Curry said that the Nuggets are a little bit sassy, was his word, not mine, his word. And but Michael Malone talked yesterday that they can't let those emotions get the best of them. They've got to stay composed. They've got to keep their focus, and they're going to lean on some of those experiences from the previous Game 7.
That's the thing. Everything amplified in this situation. Jokic with a triple-double in Game 7 in the victory over the Spurs. So hoping he can duplicate that effort as well. Thank you so much, Royce.
It's a stretch. He has to understand what it means to play hard and what it means to win and how to win at the highest level, and it takes time.
Beautiful feed, Jason Kidd. Lonzo ball, reverse layup good, and the Kid has taken over.
Hopefully in 3 years, maybe there is a better comparison, but right now it is a stretch, and he has a ways to go.
Well, Jason Kidd joining the Lakers staff, he will have a chance to continue to mentor Lonzo Ball, which he also did this past season, according to our own Ramona Shelburne. Kidd was known for his playmaking abilities throughout his career, and Ball has shown signs of that. According to Second Spectrum, Ball assisted on 17% of his drives this past season, the 5th highest rate in the NBA. And while Ball has shown potential with this part of his game, he has to work on his outside shot, something Kidd developed throughout his career. Over the last 2 seasons, Ball has made just 32% of his catch-and-shoot threes. That ranks in the bottom 10 among 149 players to attempt at least 300 of these shots. For more, we welcome back Bruce Bowen, 3-time champ, our NBA analyst, Jason Kidd, Hall of Fame point guard. What impact will he have on Lonzo Ball going forward, in your opinion?
Well, going forward, they have such similarities, and I'm sure Jason will be able to convey this to Lonzo as far as, hey, I understand what it is for you to get the ball out and go in transition. That's one of his strengths. I remember watching him in college at UCLA, Lonzo that is, and saying, wow, he gets up the floor like J. Kidd. Now, J. Kidd had incredible vision, as you saw in that pass there, Jay.
Yes.
But when you have a Hall of Famer quite like Jason Kidd and he plays the same position that Lonzo Ball is playing, Lonzo will be more, I think, acceptive of listening to what he has to say, because at the end of the day, you want to get to where these greats have been. And if you can get mentored by a great like Jason Kidd, my goodness, the sky's the limit.
How do you see the whole dynamic working out between Kidd, Frank Vogel, and LeBron James?
I think it will work out because you have an understanding going into it. Frank Vogel is not a guy that doesn't understand the way of the world as far as the NBA is concerned. He understands he needs to do his job, but at the same time, develop and continue to learn from Jason Kidd and see what he sees, because Frank Vogel was with me in Boston. That was many moons ago. Started out as a film guy, and he's continued the process of learning the game. And we saw what he was able to accomplish in Indiana. There is where I think it helps him with LeBron James as far as being someone that has been into the battlefield with LeBron James, against LeBron James. But now you always need someone on your side that LeBron can necessarily go to and say, okay, I remember during this series, how did you come up with this game plan? How did you come up with that game plan? You have all that in a mixing right there.
So what are your expectations for this team now that we have all these pieces finally in place?
Well, they're not finally in place, but they're going to move in a different direction. I think you'll see more stability. Now you have another set of eyes, a player's coach as far as someone who played at the highest level, and Jason Kidd, and as a Hall of Famer, a champion, he can relate to what LeBron James goes through, and he can also impart some of that wisdom he was able to impart back in the Olympics with LeBron James. It's so huge for LeBron James to have someone that he can kind of lean on in this situation as compared to him trying to figure it out on his own.
Lakers have missed the playoffs each of the last 6 seasons. Bruce, Thank you.
The Sharks have a couple of guys. The Lakers had a couple guys. They passed, so then they landed on their third. Frank Vogel, the former Pacers and Magic coach, agreeing to the Lakers' 3-year deal to be their head coach. Two sides met on Thursday. Talks escalated quickly. Maybe the bigger news here, joining him on the staff and what's being described as a prominent assistant coaching role is Jason Kidd, who will now have a hand in guiding Lonzo Ball. Here's Stephen A.
They went the route of Frank Vogel. If there's even a modicum of success that he does not have, Jason Kidd is in line to be the next head coach. He's already on your bench. Obviously, he can maturate himself to the situation, and that's the coach they wanted all along. But for right now, Frank Vogel is the safe pick with Jason Kidd on his bench, and you can expect Jason Kidd to be the next head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers within 2 years.
Wow.
Okay.
And there it is.
Okay.
Well, maybe 3, because Frank Vogel does have a 3-year deal. Well, he certainly has some money to play with. Here's the outlook for them. They enter the offseason, do the Lakers, with about $35 million in cap space. Only LeBron is set to make more than $9 million next season. That means that they can chase one of the top free agents if they'd like, that being a Kawhi, a Kyrie, a Clay, a Kevin Durant. Also, maybe they could go all in on Anthony Davis as well. So they certainly have the money to play with.
Closing out tonight would be unbelievable.
It is win or go home. Here we go.
I'm on the mission. I'm on the mission. I'm on the mission.
Jimmy Butler has taken over Game 6.
Cause you make them up missing.
The Sixers played lights out as they force Game 7 in Toronto.
All right, so the 76ers got the win in Game 6 and got a few boos from their own fans along the way. They're in Toronto for Game 7, but expect folks in Philly to boo when they see this. The Sixers have 9 losses all-time in Game 7s. That's tied for the most in NBA history. Let's kick it over to the Countdown crew with more.
It's hard to pick something that we love more as sports fans than a Game 7, and yet Sixers-Raptors, that's exactly what we're getting, and you expect what?
I expect it to be a heck of a game. I expect Toronto's crowd to be fantastic.
Jurassic Park.
And more importantly, I expect Kawhi to continue to be Kawhi. He's been dominant. They can't stop him. Danny Green, who hasn't done a whole lot in the series, as Paul talks about, he has championship pedigree. Expect him to be good. Kyle Lowry, just being at home. Just being at home. That's why you work so hard all season to get a Game 7 at the house. And they'll take advantage of that. I think they'll win the game.
I also picked Toronto, but let me tell you why Philly may win this game. They have so much to lose coming in this game, because if they lose this game, I think they lose Jimmy Buckets and Tobias Harris to free agency. So I think Joel Embiid has to step up. He has to become the dominant force that we were used to seeing him over the course of the season. We need Ben Simmons to show up like he did in Game 6. These are the foundations for this team. If they want to keep their free agents, they got to come up big, and that's why they got to come with it. And I do think Toronto will win, but these guys got so much to play riding on this game.
And the great thing we got to acknowledge for Game 7, no excuses.
Right.
Okay? Everything is on the line. Shout to both of these teams' general managers who took chances on big-time players in the final years of their contract. But I'm looking at 2 guys in particular, Pascal Siakam and Tobias Harris. These 2 guys have to do a lot of slashing, but also knock down their open opportunities from the perimeter. I think the Raptors get it done on their home floor. Kyle Lowry plays well. So does Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. The Raptors get it done by double figures.
Whoa. On that note, we're done.
Double figures. I wonder what Doug Kazarian has to say, right? Because a little later, should you take the under? Our gambling expert's going to let us know the better bet for both of the Game 7s today. Put your money on it, and we will. Remember, though, that you can spend your Sunday afternoon with us on ABC. Game 7, Dame Lillard and the Blazers and Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. Our coverage starts at 3 Eastern with NBA Countdown. And as always, you can watch on the ESPN app if you're out with your mom and, you know, you want to be really rude and not pay attention to her.
Time we've had 2 Game 7s in the conference as we go by the numbers since 2009, and it's the 12th day in NBA history with multiple Game 7s in any round. Raptors, they host the Sixers in one of those games, and that's bad news for Philly. The Sixers are just 1-8 all-time in Game 7s on the road. And in the other game, Damian Lillard will be playing in his first ever Game 7. Portland hasn't been in a Game 7 since 2003 and look to make the conference finals for the first time since 2000. Here's Royce Young.
It's hard to believe with all the clutch shots
The unforgettable, heart-jolting moments.
Lillard with 47 tonight. Working it down to 2-1. A deep three. Oh! Blazers win the series. A walk-off three from Lillard.
The wrist-tapping, goodbye-waving, dogpiling Insta-memes that a Game 7 and Dame time have never crossed paths.
Lillard had 32 tonight. That's what stars do. Portland Trailblazers win it to force a Game 7.
That changes today in Denver.
It's basically a game where only one team is going to make it out. You know, it's your last opportunity to play. Facing elimination is what it is to me. You know, that's going to be my approach. And the only thing that's going to change is going to be on the road as far as season for all the marbles. So for me, I'm not going in there saying, oh, I've never been in the Game 7. I'm going in there saying I know what this team is capable of. I know what I am and who I am as a player. And, you know, I'm going to go in there to get the job done. I'm not concerned with it being Game 7.
If there's a player who seems built for a Game 7, it's Lillard. The calm demeanor, the omniscient feel for the moment, the stone-cold killer instinct, and maybe most importantly, an immunity to any and all fear.
Lillard, bang! From way downtown.
Lillard doesn't sweat failure. He embraces the opportunity to achieve and accepts the consequences for trying.
As a shooter, you go through stretches where the shot's just not falling. And I try not to be one of those guys that start searching, you know, start making it more difficult than it is.
Pressure is just a distraction, and Lillard doesn't feel it for himself. But he does feel it for the people around him and understands what a conference finals appearance would mean to the franchise and to Blazer fans. But that's when Lillard's at his best, when he's being counted on. So what does Dame do in a Game 7? It's time to find out.
But first, it's time to get rich. ESPN Daily Wager host Doug Kazarian here to give us the Vegas side of things with today's pair of Game 7s. So, from a gambling perspective, Doug, what sticks out to you?
The sides are right, in my opinion. So you have Denver about 5.5-point favorite, and then Toronto is a 6-point favorite at home. Both teams, understandably. But I want to talk about the over-under. Something we talk about a lot on the show is numbers versus narrative. So the numbers and the odds makers set these over-unders, and it's just kind of the course of each series. But if you go kind of the narrative of Game 7s going back to 2004, 29 of 48 games have gone under. So 29 and 19, 10 games above 500 to the under. And the narrative, again, narrative is that defenses tighten up, maybe some shooters are a little tight. Just the familiarity with each team's offense. 7th game you faced them, you're no longer surprised by some of the offensive sets. So really, these typically go under. Now, they could just go under by circumstance and then fits the narrative that you want to make it. So it's convenient, but those are the stats.
So we've got the Bucks waiting in the East. We've got the Warriors waiting out in the West. For a gambling novice like me, it always seems like a real safe bet to go with the Warriors in the finals. But what's Vegas saying about their chances?
It's very interesting because they have to kind of track these injuries, namely Kevin Durant, but also Boogie Cousins. So before Game 6, when Durant goes down, Warriors were the lowest to win it all that they've been the entire season, -110. They get the win, advance. They'll have home court, obviously, so they're -140 now. So, but it's tracking the injuries to Durant. When's he going to be back, if at all? They think he's going to be back to the finals, the odds makers I spoke with, but not the conference finals. They think they can handle whoever it is, Portland or Denver, but then the Bucks or Toronto would have home court in that final, so that's why they've come to -140.
If you love that Doug tries to get you money, you should watch the Daily Wager weekday, 6 p.m.
Show the
Eastern
card,
on
Doug,
ESPN.
show the card.
Look, he's official. It's
Cross-promotion.
official.
Cross-promotion.
We're not getting canceled because of the card. Exactly. The card's been printed.
You're good.
We're never getting
You already
canceled.
printed the card.